Toy Story 3 is an incredibly moving, complex film about a set of toys learning to move on from Andy and start again with a girl named Bonnie. An emotional struggle that somewhat reflects the transition of a parent when their child grows up, or the way I relate to it as a children's therapist is all the times I've had to say goodbye with kids I've worked with before starting again with someone new. Woody watching Andy drive off into the sunset and saying, "So long, partner." That gets me. That will probably always get me. It's also a film about Andy letting go of his toys, kind of as a metaphor for all of us getting to say goodbye to the world and the characters we grew up with until the fourth film, but I haven't seen that one yet. Here's the thing though, Bonnie is actually irrelevant here, and when you understand that, I think is when you understand what this film is really about. Yeah, hear me out on this, okay? Okay, I'm not saying Bonnie doesn't have any purpose or value in this film. Obviously she does. She is what enables Andy to let go of his toys. And let's actually start this off by exploring all that at the beginning of this film for a second. Because Toy Story 3 begins effectively with Andy going to college, and he's got to clean out his room because his sister Molly wants it. Andy has to sort all of his belongings from stuff he's taking to college, stuff for the attic, and everything else is going in the bin. And immediately I think, why? Why does all of this stuff need sorting away? Why does Molly get his room? Is hers going to be needed for something else? What happens if after college Andy comes back home? I mean, a lot of people do come back home after university, even back in 2010 when this was made. The idea that you just immediately walk into a perfect job and can immediately afford your own place to live is increasingly less and less true. We don't know why this is happening. I do somewhat have an answer that we'll come to later, but the point is Andy feels uneasy about this. He's leaving for college in 3 days and he hasn't yet packed anything. When his mum tries to hurry him, he seems reluctant.
Anything you're not taking to college either goes in the attic or it's trash.
Mom, I'm not leaving till Friday.
Come on, it's garbage day.
Mom.
Despite his room becoming Molly's in 3 days, he continues to be defensive about her going in there.
Molly, stay out of my room. Molly, out of my room.
3 more days and it's mine.
Andy is quite naturally conflicted about leaving for college. On the one hand, he's likely excited and it's a new chapter and it gives him a lot of independence. On the other hand, he will miss home. He's not yet used to living away from it. Part of him wants to keep his room and all the things in it exactly as they are and delay having to face up to the reality of moving out. The reality being that it's not just exciting, that everything isn't going to stay the same. It's also sad and a bit scary and unknown as well. I mean, if we can speculate based on the context of this film, I'd suggest maybe it feels like saying goodbye to childhood altogether, and that's not always easy. In a lot of ways, the toys are symbolic for that conflict. He doesn't want to play with them anymore, but he also doesn't want to bin them. So what are they now? What role do they fulfill for him? Twice he's effectively asked that question and he cannot answer.
Why do you still have these toys?
Molly, out of my room.
You need to start making decisions.
Like what?
Like, what are you going to do with these toys?
He says no when his mum suggests donating them to Sunnyside Daycare. When she suggests selling them online, he says,
No one's gonna want those old toys. They're junk.
Which is a great line, despite the fact it contradicts just how valuable Woody, Jessie and Bullseye were in the second movie. It's great because the toys all take it to mean that they're unwanted. But that's not truly what Andy's saying. If they were junk, he wouldn't have held on to them this long. He wouldn't then proceed to put Woody in a box for college and the others for attic. He says they're junk because that's what he imagines they might be to others, but not to him. They hold sentimental value. He says they're junk also because I think he thinks that's what he's supposed to feel. It's kind of what Molly insinuates. You're supposed to be grown up and not care about your old toys, but is that true? Or is that just cultural pressure? Sometimes, for whatever reason, it can be hard to let go. Which is a perfectly normal struggle. I do like in all of these films how Andy's struggles are never like extreme dramatized ones. It's just an ordinary kind of difficult but normal struggle of growing up. He doesn't want the toys with him at college, but he doesn't want them binned. He settles for putting them in the attic. But for him, this feels more like stalling on a decision than the decision in itself. They can go up there for now. I'll think about it at some other date, you know? Stalling until the end of the movie when Woody showcases an impressive ability to forge Andy's mum's handwriting in order to suggest the toys should all be sent to Bonnie. Andy is then able to do this because it feels like a positive goodbye. He gets to see where they go, gets to see them bringing someone else happiness, which he then relates to as the younger version of himself. And it feels fulfilling because it means the toys get to go on representing the same thing they once did for him. Plus, he knows where they are. It's highly unlikely he would want to come back and see the toys again, but it helps to know that he theoretically could do that if he wanted to. In that sense, Bonnie enables Andy to let go. It's great. However, Andy is a relatively minor section of the film, whilst he is the entire kind of framing that represents us as the audience. He's not the core of this. Woody is the main character. Woody is the main bulk and the heart that this story revolves around, or him and the other toys. There is a bigger point here. So far we've only discussed like a 1 minute section of this film. There's a lot more we need to discuss. There's a whole world of different things to say here. A whole world.
Folks, if you want to step right this way.
Oh, you better believe it's World Anvil. They are sponsoring this video, they are offering you 51% off, and they are an online tool for building worlds, you may have guessed. But also creating characters, designing and managing campaigns for all sorts of different games. My best friend uses it for D&D, but there's lots of other games. You can use it for planning your stories, writing your stories, working on all sorts of creative projects. For me, it is my novel. I need a tool like this, otherwise I am far too chaotic. We're moving flat soon, and I literally have 6 cardboard boxes full of random sheets of A4 paper I've written old ideas on. Pre-World Anviled me was a nightmare. So with something like this, not only can I keep everything organised, keep it all in one place, be able to easily edit things, but I can create timelines, I can create hyperlinks branching off specific characters or articles or a billion other things that just make it so much easier to find stuff. Planning things can be hard, especially when there's so much to do, but having all of these tools to help visualise it, to help split everything down into specific points, articles one at a time, it helps immensely. I'm not going to show you because it's a secret, but I've created different bio pages for all of the characters in my world, even the minor ones, which house they live in, what their job is, who they're friends with, who they hate, what different beliefs they have or opinions about events that go on in the book, or whatever. So, World Anvil is great. I hope you can hear my passion, and if you desire, if you crave. If you call to the heavens for a 51% discount, then use the code TREE, or click the link in the description, or the pinned comment, or if you just want to try out the free version, then go for that. You know, there's no time limit on it. Test it out for as long as you want. World Anvil. The toys, too, are in a period of transition, from being played with all the time to preparing for potential life in an attic, from having a very clear purpose in life, which is to support Andy, to be there for him, to now potentially not be there for him, just wait in permanent standby on the slim chance he might need you again at some point. It feels like their purpose in life is stripping away, for which Woody tries to reassure them that they are still needed. Andy does obviously still want them. We'll remember, of course, that wants and need are two different things, but he would have binged them if he didn't want them, and one day he might have kids of his own.
Through every yard sale, every spring cleaning, Andy held on to us. He must care about us or we wouldn't be here.
Andy may have kids of his own.
And he'll play with us then, right?
We'll always be there for him.
But the other point that reassures them, the one I want to draw attention to, is the idea that they'll all be together in the attic.
It'll be safe and warm.
And we'll all be together.
Exactly.
Whatever happens, at least we'll all be together.
Two different ideas there, technically. One is needing Andy, this greater being who provides you with a clear purpose in life, and the other is simply needing each other's company to be happy, even if they are in a dark attic together for years. So, what happens? Woody gets put in the box to go to college, and the others are intended for the attic, but there's a mix-up and they almost get binned by mistake, which makes all of the toys panic. Andy doesn't want us anymore, we're finished. If this is the way the wind's blowing, we've got no other choice but to sneak into the box of toys being donated to the Sunnyside daycare. Which is technically them moving on in the sense they're going elsewhere, but internally, are these toys truly ready to move on? Have they really let go? They're acting out of fear, I think. Panic around being abandoned has caused them to jump ship. It's a red alert, kind of quick, we're being forced to let go. Make a clean break of it now before the worst happens. Whereas later in the movie, the second they find out that Andy did actually still want them, they're all keen to go back.
He's looking for us. He's looking for us?
So Andy does want us. I knew it.
We gotta go home.
But they don't know that yet. Woody saw that they were intended for the attic. They don't know that. He tries to get them to come back from Sunnyside Daycare, but they won't. They don't believe him. He refuses to give up on Andy, so he splits off from the others to go back home, and there's no proper goodbye between them. He totally rejects the handshake. Two opposite approaches, really. One is anxiously making a clean break to avoid the pain of the proper ending, and the other is refusing to let go, kind of out of a sense of duty, I suppose, with Woody. I mean, why is he so keen to go back? Is it what he really wants from life, or just what he feels he's supposed to do?
And if he wants us at college or in the attic, well, then our job is to be there for him.
His idea of going to college is fun partying, I suppose, but when's that going to happen? What other toys will there be for Woody to interact with? He will just sit on a shelf, constantly alone in his uni room, while Andy studies.
I'm the toy on campus, hello. Hey, I'll see you with the Zaka.
So, you know, technically Woody is right. Andy does still want them. Andy didn't intend to bin them. But on a deeper level, the other toys are also kind of right. That Andy doesn't need them anymore. That they don't need him. That perhaps they should be looking for the future. Is Woody perhaps afraid to let go? Anyway, the movie then happens. Woody saves his friend when Sunnyside turns out to be a prison run by Lotso, and then they all narrowly escape a grim death before reaching the conclusion that the attic doesn't seem so bad anymore. The attic will be alright, in comparison.
You know all that bad stuff I said about Andy's attic? I take it all back.
You darn tootin'.
You said it.
So yeah, they're all happy to go into the attic now. Woody is happy to go to college. This time he and Buzz do shake hands. And thank God this isn't where the film ends, because it's taken us right back to the start. The exact same outcome, only everyone is happy about it this time, but not really for reasons of fulfilling character development. Woody wanted to go to college for the same vague reasons as now, and the toys want to go into the attic for the same reason they would have accepted going there at the beginning. The reassurance that Andy does still want them on some level. Only 9 minutes of the film left at this point, and it's structurally really interesting to go on this entire journey that almost changes nothing, until Woody, with 9 minutes left, does something massive at the very end that alters everything and gives us a much more satisfying conclusion, which is where we can finally come to the point. Andy and his mum walk into the room for the last few boxes and she audibly gasps. She looks painfully upset. Firstly, there's your answer as to why everything in this room needs clearing out. Suddenly it clicks what his mum was doing at the beginning of this film. She too has been afraid to lose her son and so has been anxiously trying to make a clean break. Go into practicality mode, clear everything away. If I can do that, it'll feel clean and less painful, and it'll help me to start thinking more about the future beyond just raising my kids. What am I going to do in my life now they're getting older? Molly will have Andy's room, I will do something else with Molly's old room perhaps. But it's like literally trying to pack away all of these feelings, you know? My son will be gone, I have to accept that, so I'll just determinedly pack everything up and make myself move on. And whilst the circumstances are obviously very different here, this is quite similar to the toys at the beginning of this film. Them forcing a clean break out of anxiety. Whereas Andy, like Woody, was more reluctant and more keen to stall on facing up to the ending. This film in that sense kind of shows us two opposite reactions to the struggle around facing a big ending and a big transition. And both of them represent feelings that matter. Like, I've worked with a lot of kids in therapy, and coming towards the end of work, saying a final goodbye goodbye is always a huge thing, but 90% of the time, without me even bringing it up, the kids find a way to express that one part of them wants to make a quick ending like now, like several weeks before the final session, just say a very quick goodbye and then go back to class, job done, kind of making a clean break, and then another part of them that just wants to go on and pretend like it's not going to end, like we're not running out of sessions, this is going to go on forever. Both of those feelings and impulses are important ones to process in order that you can reach the point where the ending can be as healthy and fulfilling as possible. Andy's mum then says,
I wish I could always be with you. You will be, Mom.
when are you truly ready to let something go? I would say when you've already internalized everything it means for you. When, despite moving away, you feel like you still carry it inside. That's true for both Andy and his mum in this moment. And it's also true for Woody, seeing this play out. He doesn't need to physically, literally be there for Andy anymore, because he's already there inside. Often we can be afraid to let go because we want to feel needed. We want that sense of value and importance, but it's actually often in letting go that you get to be the most important thing of all, and in a part of their own growth to independence. It might hurt, but it's actually more fulfilling to realise you've done your job. It's freeing for you both. Unlike the toy's original fear that not being needed comes with feelings of abandonment, being discarded, that everything you once meant has been erased. You know, those are still feelings you might have and have to process, but it's often the reverse, that he is holding you at so deep a place inside his heart that he no longer needs to hold you on his shelf. Letting go, moving on, it's not about the past losing all relevance and meaning. It's about the past becoming the fuel that enables you to fly free. Does that make sense? Letting go for Woody is about releasing himself from this pressure, this rigid sense of duty that has been his identity for so long. That's kind of why letting go is such a good phrase, because you're releasing yourself from a pressure, and it's scary because you don't know what's next. But this is the first real moment where Woody actually thinks about what he wants from life, what he needs, and what does he need? It's not college. Woody looks to this same photo of Andy again, but this time, look how the camera pans. At the start of the film it zoomed in on Andy specifically, but this time Woody's eyes pan down to all of the toys. That's what Woody wants, to be with his friends. His family, dare I say. This is why he forges a note suggesting Andy send the toys to Bonnie and then hides himself at the bottom of the box. Deliberately at the bottom so Andy won't see him until it's too late to take him away again. Woody doesn't make this decision because of Bonnie. We're not seeing him thinking about Bonnie. She's kind of irrelevant to the point. Sure, her home is a safe, happy place he knows they can go, which would just be objectively nicer than living in a dark attic, but it's about all of them being together. The very thing Buzz has been telling us the entire film.
And we'll all be together. Well, whatever happens, at least we'll all be together. What's important now is we stay together. We're a family. We stay together.
They are a family. Not Andy's family, but their own family. And then it's only when Woody really lets go that he realizes just how important that is. And equally, letting go is something he can only do when he realizes on an internal level for Andy.
We'll always be there for him.
I mean, this was even the entire big climactic moment of the film. All of them were stuck, about to be incinerated, and it was awful, and I definitely cried. But what made it bearable, or less unbearable for them, was that they were together, that they could hold hands. Where they all end up, whether they get a new owner, who that is, it's all irrelevant to the deeper points that whatever happens, it will be okay so long as we're together. Woody at the start of the film was so internally pressured to stay with Andy that he said goodbye to his family. And then at the end he's ready to say goodbye to Andy in order that he can be with his family. And I cry just looking at these clips even now. All endings are sad on some level. It's good to allow yourself to feel sad. Not that you should force it at all, but the extreme of blocking it would be becoming like Lotso, refusing to even say his old owner's name. It's sad, but there are also lots of other positive feelings wrapped inside too, and the relief is a positive feeling. Sometimes we shame ourselves with guilt for feeling that, but we shouldn't have to. Andy drives off into the sunset, and tears on my face, start to wonder, oh my god, is this my favourite Toy Story film actually? Maybe? I don't think it's the best one, but god damn it moves me. And if you think this video hasn't been discussing the story from enough of a therapy perspective, then okay, let me add this to the end of the video. So I did talk about transitional objects once before in one of my Coraline videos. Transitional objects were psychoanalyst Donald Winnicott's theory essentially for objects like teddies, cherished toys, a baby's blanket, things, let's say, things that represent a deeper feeling of care. Why do kids love teddies that they can cuddle so much? Why do they make them feel safe? Because they partly symbolise the care of your guardians, the safety they make you feel. The child is taking that experience and imprinting it onto this physical object so that when mum's not there, you've still got something that represents not literally her, but many of the good qualities she possesses. So transitional objects help the baby manage the transition from being like 100% dependent on their carers for everything to kind of 80% dependent. Managing some time with them in another room or a modicum of separation, and not just in a physical sense, because the infant has this slowly growing awareness that their carers are not an inherent part of them and their sense of self. The carers are totally separate beings, which is quite scary, because who are you if your sense of self is still forming? Do you not have all your carers' good qualities? Are you just helplessly dependent on them for all of it? A transitional object allows you symbolically to somewhat hold tight to all those qualities, but it also allows you to explore the boundaries of your sense of self, because a transitional object like a teddy is kind of a middle ground between what is you and what is not you, if that makes sense. A teddy is kind of you because you're animating it with life and personality and pouring all your self-expression into it, but it's also an external object beyond you. It's in a place of transition between your internal and external world. As we get older and a sense of self becomes a little clearer, the need for this is less obviously strong. You internalize a lot of the qualities the object represents and are better able to navigate the boundaries between internal and external without direct need of a transitional object. However, that doesn't necessarily mean they're no longer important, and at times of stress or during other transitions in life, their importance can grow again. Relating this back to Toy Story, in Toy Story 1, Andy was moving house and it was scary, a difficult period of transition for which he especially felt the need of Woody and Buzz. In Toy Story 2, he's a bit older, a bit more dependent, he's perfectly able to leave his toys behind while he goes to summer camp. He still needs them and what they represent, but he is able to leave them for a while, knowing where they are and knowing they'll be right there when he gets back. And then Toy Story 3, it's all so well internalized he can actually say goodbye to his toys in a way that's positive and healthy rather than damaging. Again, feeling sad is not necessarily a negative, whereas blocking all of that and insisting you don't need them, you never did, that could be more damaging. He's able to make a positive goodbye, again because he knows where they are, knowing someone else will love them. Through Bonnie, he gets to experience how much he's grown. However, there is a point I want to make that feels contrary to the point of the film. It's that we don't just grow out of transitional objects. In fact, we tend to have them all of our lives, even if the objects themselves might change and what they symbolize might change. And so in that sense, there wouldn't necessarily be anything wrong if Andy did keep his toys in the attic. Think about it. Why do you create photo albums or print physical photos or stick them on pinboards or in frames? Is that just from the cultural history of a time before they were available digitally? Or is there something extra special about having them as a physical object? Why do people put photos of their partners or their kids in their wallet? I mean, you'll see your family every day if you live with them, surely. Why do you need to carry that with you? Or why make them your phone's screensaver and background? Or maybe you do still get children's teddies, but now more for collection. You're not playing with them, but they can still represent something, right? Which, not exclusively, but more commonly, people who experienced trauma as children are more likely to collect things like this, because as adults it can be like reclaiming the healthy childhood they might feel they missed out on, or it feels safe and soothing. Or having this collection in your home can make your home feel more like a safe space. All sorts of things. You know, people can often look at this behaviour like it's infantilizing, but no, generally the research suggests it can be very positive for people to be able to draw this clear symbolic line back from their adulthoods into their child self, to reconnect with their roots in a small and symbolic way. It can be great for processing things, but also generally the concept tends to widen from clear physical objects to just a general transitional space of exploring the boundaries between self and other. So just like through creative expression and habits and practices, making a movie. On my desk I keep an old toffee pot my granddad had that I used to nick toffees from when I was a kid. I have moved on from the loss of my granddad, I think. I still miss him, obviously. I still feel sad sometimes, and I don't think this toffee pot is like a vivid symbol of him that I always look to. But it is just nice to know it's there, something that reminds me of him. In objects of his being passed down, his memory feels preserved somewhat. I can take this little piece of him into my new home even though he's never stepped foot in it. What we get from transitional objects can change and can be more important in times of stress or transition, but they're not inherently silly or childish, and we're not somehow failing at adult life if we don't give all of them away to a child named Bonnie. I just thought that's worth explaining. You know, it's not a mark against the film at all, because this is obviously a clear positive for Andy here. And even then, you know what else can be a transitional object? Movies you loved as a kid. Better yet, fulfilling sequels to those movies where you get the chance to say a very conclusive goodbye to the film. That's wonderful. Again, I am yet to see the fourth film. I require your advice there. A lot of you have said I shouldn't watch it, others have said I should. I don't know. Also, your comments in general. A like on the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want more. Maybe even support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee. Otherwise, here's that train again. And as ever, a special thank you goes to Flying Spider, Luke Core, Michael Gallagher, Ben Marie, Thafi, Chad Bramwell, and Joshua C. Follier. Thank you.